Greetings and welcome to Chant a Psalm a Day. This is Psalm. Today's Psalm is coming from 62. Psalm 62. And the Psalm 62 is titled, My Life Waits for God Alone. My life waits for God alone. That is the psalm for today, Psalm 62. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. As we begin the month of March, in the Ethiopian calendar, it is Miazia. As we get into March, I am looking at celebrating Black History Month all year. So for March, we're looking at Black women in history. Okay? Black women in history. Because March is History Women's Month. So we're looking at Black women in history. So I ask that my words out of my mouth, the meditation in my heart, are acceptable in the sight of the Most High. And let's begin. Psalm 62. Here we go. So, Psalm 62. For the Most High alone, my life waits in silence. From him comes my salvation. So, we know we take the pronouns out. So who is him? Him is the Most High. Who is my? That's I and I. What is soul? That's life. So for God alone, I and I life waits in silence. From God alone comes I and I salvation. That's verse 1. Verse 2. God alone is I and I rock and I and I salvation. I and I fortress, I and I shall not be greatly shaken. This is a reminder because it's a reminder not just for everyone, but for myself in terms of not being shaken. I was walking to work, and this was yesterday, and I was shaken up because it was cold. I'm walking. Everyone's driving past. Nobody's stopping to say, to pick me up. And I'm walking. So here I'm walking, and here passes my boss, my supervisor, the one who's, in academia, we call it the chair of the department, right? So the chair of the department driving by real fast, saw me and stuck her hand out and was waving. So I was like, hey, and we're going to the same place. Okay. We're going to the same place. And I'm walking and this person is driving. I was shaken because I felt unsupported. I felt like devalued or neglected or not looked after, right? And I got in a way about it, but then when I arrived to my office and then the supervisor came knocking on my door apologizing for not stopping. So when I looked at this Psalm 62, my life waits for God alone, it's a reminder for me that only the Most High is going to be there and going to send certain ones for you. Not everyone is going to be valuing you, supporting you, talking to you, or listening to you. Not everyone is going to do that, or listening to your pain, Not everyone is going to do that. So this psalm is right on time because the Most High is always on time. It made me sad. It made me weep. It made me, remember all the things that people have done wrong to me and just not apologize, but she apologized. She didn't do anything wrong. She doesn't have to stop to pick me up. But she apologized. And yesterday, in talking to folks about, people who have used or done me wrong and not apologized, or not held accountable for what they have done or what they haven't done, it makes me shaken. It really shakes me up. This psalm keeps me knowing that I don't have to be shaken because people are not apologizing or not apologetic, or folks that I helped. And I'll give an example, a real life example, helping someone with a phone, putting it on my, giving them a phone. And what they did was took the phone and, got a new number basically, and left me with the bill. So I'm left with having to pay for a phone that I don't have because they were not responsible or not, forthcoming. And because of that, I'm shaken. I'm like, that's not supportive. And everybody else around that individual is hee ha ha, and not holding that person accountable for what they have done or what they haven't done. So in the psalm today, it resonates with me because I realize that my life has to wait for God alone. I can't wait for people to apologize. I can't wait for folks to, advocate for me or to support me. I can't wait for that. I have to wait on the Most High in silence, and just silence. Yesterday I got heated up. I was like, this world is messed up. It's just, I was just done with, folks and how folks are treating me. So this psalm gives me a strength to know that I'm not alone. And folks who want to use me and want to take and not give, I will leave them at the foot of the cross, and the Most High will deal with them. I don't wish anything bad on anyone, but I know when you do someone shiesty, right, you're going to get repercussions for that. And folks don't want to hear that. They're like, oh, I don't want nothing happening to this. Yeah? Okay. Set that person straight then. Get that person to realize what they've done did. So I can't wait for that. And I'm not going to. I am going to look to the Most High, because that is where the salvation comes from. It's not going to come from the person who jacked me for a phone. It's not going to come from the person who is passing me by on the road and not giving me a ride. It's not going to come from folks who don't want to listen to my pain and not listening or not empathizing with the pain. It's not going to come from folks like that. It's not. So I realize that my salvation, and I knew all along, but we're human. We're going to have feelings, and we're going to be upset sometimes. But we don't want to, hurt anyone because we're hurting. And that is why this psalm is right on time, because the salvation comes from the Most High. And that alone is a rock, a solid rock, because the stone that the builder refused is the head of the cornerstone. And because I was refused a ride, because I was refused apology for giving a person a phone and being stuck with a bill, I know my salvation is gonna come. And even though I'm that stone the builder refused and don't want to account for their actions, I know I'm gonna end up being the head of the cornerstone. And that same individual, those same folks, are gonna need me before I need them. This is what happens. So in verse 3, how long will all of you attack a person, to batter that person as a leaning wall, a tottering fence? How long? How long are you going to be shysty? How long are you going to know that you have somebody else paying for a phone that they don't have but you had, and did what you did to it? So how long? Verse 4, they only plan to thrust I and I down from I and I high position, and taking pleasure in falsehood, in a lie, right? They're taking pleasure, they're having pleasure in this lie. And ones bless with their mouths, right? With their mouths, but inwardly they're cursing. Selah. And the psalm ends with Selah. Not the psalm, but that verse 4 ends with Selah. So ones are blessing with their mouth, bless you and all of this, and blessed rise, and they, saying all these things. I speak that too. But I know my heart is in the right place. However, there are ones who bless with their mouths, but inwardly they're cursing you. So, for God alone, for the Most High alone, this is verse 5, for the Most High alone, all I and I life, wait in silence. Yeah, in silence I will wait. I will not mention and speak about certain things, wrongness that have been done to me. I'm not going to speak of it. I am going to leave it in the hands of the Most High. Because for I and I life is waiting in silence. And this verse has been repeated. In verse 1, it starts off with that. For God alone my soul waits in silence. And verse 5, for God alone my soul waits in silence. Yeah, it repeats because it's important to be tight-lipped when you're talking around folks that does not support or advocate for you. Just be in silence. Don't say anything, right? In verse 5, it repeats, for God alone, all I and I life, wait in silence. For I and I future is from the Most High. So my future is not in the hands of the lady that passed me by on the side of the road. My future is not in the hands of this person that jacked me for a phone. My future is not in the hands of these folks. Okay? My future is not in the hands of the one who gave my son something to kill him in a Motel 6. My hands is not in the future of those folks. So the Most High only, in verse 6, only, that's the only one who is a rock for I and a salvation, a fortress. When I say fortress, I mean I'm putting up this fortress. You can't get in here unless you are righteous. You can't get into my fortress. So my fortress, and I shall not be shaken. Because the Most High only is I and I rock and I and I salvation. That's all I have. When your mother and father forsake you, what does Psalm 27 speak about? The Most High will take you. So, and not take you and where you don't have to be in your body, but take you where you don't have to be around shysty folks. You're asking to surround yourself with folks who are going to listen to your pain, who are going to be responsive to your pain. even though the pain is coming from somebody they know or their family member. They are going to listen to your pain. They're not going to take the side of the person who, who did that shisty behavior. Then I become the one who is the bad person because I am speaking of this, you know. So I am looking in verse 5, for the Most High alone, oh, I and I life, wait in silence. For God alone, I will wait in silence. For my future is in the Most High. The Most High only is I and I rock and I and I salvation. I and I fortress. I and I shall not be shaken. Okay? And I was shaken yesterday. And this psalm now is reminding me not to be. Leave it alone. People are going to pass you on the side of the road. Leave it alone. Just remember that the Most High is the rock and a salvation. People may leave you with the bag holding where you gotta be, you're left holding a bag, paying a bill for someone who is just shysty in their behavior. And this is what people are teaching children, that it's okay to do this to a person. It's not right. So on verse 7, on God rests my salvation and my glory. Almighty rock, my safety is the Most High. So my safety is not in anyone on this earth or anyone that can help me. My safety is in the Most High. That is my safety. That is my mighty, mighty rock. As I'm drinking my tea, mighty rock is the Most High. Verse 8, trust in the Most High at all times. Even when someone is passing you on the side of the road and not giving you a ride, you still have to trust in the Most High during those times. When someone leaves you with a bill for a phone that they changed the phone number on, took it, when you gave it to them out of good faith, and you said, here, when you get yourself settled, you can, pay on it and stuff like that. But they never did, right? Guess what? I have to still trust in the Most High at all times, irregardless of that. I am going to trust in the Most High at all times. And I'm going to pour out I and I heart before the Most High, not people. Because people are not going to be compassionate. Some folks are not. They're not compassionate, and they're not, understanding, because they're too close to the situation, or they are a member of, they're a family member to the person who wronged you. And instead of correcting that person and making that person accountable, they're upset at you for saying anything about it. So it's like, wait a minute. I am going to trust in the Most High at all times. And I'm going to pour out I and I heart before the Most High as I'm pouring it out now. Okay? Because when I'm speaking to the Most High, I'm speaking to God, to the Almighty, right? That's the time when I am going to pour out myself, because even with a therapist, sometimes, pouring out your heart to a therapist, that's good, because you're able to get it out, speak words, and they're not going to, hold you in judgment. They're going to listen because they're trained to listen. They're going to listen, and they're going to, ask you questions like, how does that make you feel when that person passed you on the side of the road? How did that make you feel? And they want to know how you feel. That's what a therapist is. But a person, a family member, somebody close to you, is not going to be that same way. They're not going to. So how do you feel about that? They're not going to. they're too close to your situation. So you have to get a therapist. You have to get somebody that you can air this information and talk about this. So the Most High is speaking of in this psalm. This is a psalm of David, and in terms of trusting in the Most High at all times. At all times, even in times when you feel the way I felt yesterday, like nobody cared, nobody listened, nobody is hearing me, no one is empathizing with me and what I'm dealing with. So when we look at the psalm today, it signifies that, oh my goodness, we have to trust in the Most High at all times. And this psalm is right on time because verse 8, trust in him at all times. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. So translated, I take out the pronouns. The Most High is a safety for I and I, Selah. And then in verse 9, those of low estate are but a breath. Those of high estate is just a delusion. So what does that mean? That means that when ones are low, they're in a low estate, it's just a breath. They're going to be gone. And those who are high in a high estate are just a delusion. It's not real. In the balances, these high estate go up. They are together lighter than a breath. So in verse 9, it's signifying the importance of not trusting in these delusions of grandeur, or, these low estate is just a breath. Those of high estate are delusion. And in the balances, all of them are going up and together lighter than a breath. So in verse 10, put no trust in extortion. Set no vain hopes on robbery. When riches increase, set not your heart on them, on these riches. So the situation with my phone, with my being left with a phone bill, right, that I'm still paying on today, that is robbery. You robbed me. And this, you're putting trust in extortion. I've been extorted to pay a phone that I don't even have because the person took it. Out of good faith that I had to give it, they took that good faith and smashed it in the ground. When I gave them a place to stay, a room and board, this is shiesty. So I'm gonna put no trust in extortion. I went ahead and paid the phone. I paid it with our credit card. I'm still paying on every month now. So I went ahead and paid it. I forgave the person and I moved on. However, the psalm today is signifying how you have to move on. You have to move on knowing that the Most High, the Almighty God, creator of the universe, right, is to be trusted at all times, regardless of being shaken up, regardless of one's, taking advantage of your kindness, regardless of it. Do not be like the woman at the Joel Osteen church, being angry and not trusting in the Most High at all times and taking people's lives with her. Okay, her son was at her side. He's shot. He's, in recovery. We don't want to do stuff like that to folks that hurt us or that do something to us that we didn't like. I'm not going to go bowling, a person down because they did that to me. No, I leave them at the foot of the cross and let the Most High deal with the person. They will see, they will get their judgment. They will get their judgment. So you don't have to put your hand into extortion and get somebody to do something to the person. You don't have to go into robbery and, when your riches, increase, you're setting your heart on all this money you get. No. Psalm 62 verse 10, put no trust in extortion, set no vain hopes on robbery. When riches increase, set not your heart on the riches that increase, because the ones who take from you and leave you with the bag holding, they're going to need you before you need them. It always happens. So why do wrong to a person? Why do that? Why do that? Because you never know when you're going to need that person. You burnt that bridge out. You burnt that bridge down. So in verse 11, once God has spoken, twice have I heard this, that power belongs to God, and that to God belongs steadfast love. For God will render to a man and a woman and a child according to a man, woman, and child's work. So according to your work, that's what you're going to be rendered. That's what's going to happen. And Selah and Selah again. That is the end of the psalm. Blessed be the word of God. Blessed be the word of the Most High. And it's important as we look at the psalm today, 62, and I unpacked a lot, referencing my own life in the psalm and how imperfect I am. I'm not perfect. I get angry. I have feelings. These things happen. And I'm grateful to this Psalm 62 because it keeps me grounded. It keeps me knowing that my life is waiting for the Most High. That's what my life is waiting on. It's not waiting for a big house, a big car, a big this, a big that, a big wedding, a big marriage, a big this, a big all. I'm not waiting for all those things. I am going to have my life wait in silence for the Most High. And when in a psalm I translated, it talks about the daughters of Zion rejoicing in the judgment when folks are getting their judgment. You are rejoicing in this because the wicked must drop. And this psalm embodies that in terms of putting your trust in the Most High and not in extortion or robbery, setting your vain hopes on robbery, and the Most High is going to render to a one according to their work. According to their work, this is going to happen. So let me digress in looking at the Bible verse today. And the Bible verse today, let's see what that is. The Bible verse today is from Psalm 73, verse 25 to 26. My flesh and my heart may fail. That's what happened to me yesterday. My flesh and my heart may fail. That's how I felt. But the Most High is the strength of I and I heart and I and I portion for all time to come. So I am not going to dwell on what I don't have or what folks have taken from me. I am going to dwell on the fact that my flesh and my heart, they may fail, okay? I may be shaken, as this psalm tells us not to be shaken, right? Let not your heart be shaken, right? I shall not be greatly shaken, because my Almighty is the strength of I and I heart and I and I portion for all time to come. Whom have I in heaven but the Most High? And earth has nothing I desire besides the Most High. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion for all time to come. So that's how I felt yesterday. I don't want to be in this on this world, because this world is corrupt. It takes and takes and takes, and it's corrupt. I would rather be in an orphanage in Ethiopia. Seriously, with children, helping children who don't have a parent. That's where I would like to be. So when I look at this psalm, I look at the verse of the day and then the word of the day. When I looked at the word of the day, I just have to share the word of the day today. It is brave. Brave. And that is what I need. I need to be brave in this time. It's hard times. It's very hard times. It's trying to make the ends meet that they're not meeting, because the system is taking more than it's giving. And then you have other people taking and more than they're giving. So when I look at this word today, brave, I embrace that. I receive it. I need to be brave and bold. I live life to the fullest. So March 1st, the word of the day is brave. When I look forward on I greatest accomplishments, the challenges I have overcome, and all I have survived, I marvel at how brave I have been called to be throughout my life. These memories sustain me as I grow and change. As long as I live, I will have opportunities to climb higher, push myself, and do things I'm not quite sure I can do. Through it all, I can call upon the strength of God, the source of I and I bravery. God's strength is my strength. It bolsters my faith, strengthening I to know in myself, to have awareness in myself and my strength, that I can walk to work every day in the freezing cold and people passing by and not giving me. I can do that. I put myself in this position because God told me to come to this position. And he's not going to forsake me out here. So this strength kindles my zeal, giving I the push to get started, and fuels my imagination and my ability to picture my success, right? I am bold and brave and ready and willing to live the life of I and I dreams. And that is the life of I and I dreams, is to work with children, to build child development centers all across this nation, okay? The quality child care facilities that is going to empower children and families, as well as the workers that are there, to be learning about child development on the job, in classes, in professional development opportunities, always. So they're constantly learning. And that is my goal. That is my dream. And starting that dream, I want to start it on where I'm from, in the Virgin Islands, on St. John, on this tiny island where there's no public, working library. There is one, but it's not functioning. There's no public preschool. It's not functioning. There's no public high school. It's been in the works for 50 years. There's no services for children and families on the island of St. John in the Virgin Islands. Yet there's big villas hanging off the side of the mountain. There's billion-dollar houses, but there's no infrastructure for children and families. Doesn't that seem odd to you? Jeffrey Epstein got himself an island, but the children on the island doesn't have a library, a preschool, or a public high school. Doesn't that seem odd to you? So, in this word of the day, brave, I'm going to be brave. I'm going to be strong and of good courage. I'm not going to be afraid or dismayed. First Chronicles 22, verse 13. Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid or dismayed. So I needed to hear that. First Chronicles 22, verse 13. Be strong and of good courage. Don't be afraid or dismayed. That individual, you gave a phone, you gave a place for that person to stay and to rest their head, and paid for the phone for them until they went and changed the number and took the phone and not giving you a dime. I'm not going to be dismayed about that. I'm leaving that at the foot of the cross. That person will be dealt with. And I don't wish harm on anyone. But when you do wrong to God's children, you have consequences to face. You have repercussions. Everything you do comes back around. Karma is crazy. So when you do something, you put it in motion, it's got to come right back around to you. So I'm not going to be afraid or dismayed. I'm gonna let the Father's will be done. Because Jesus spoke and said, it's not my will, it's my Father's will be done. So when you messing with the Father, sons and daughters, you better be ready for what's gonna happen. Because I'm not speaking about anything into existence to hurt someone. You're going to hurt yourself by doing the things you're doing. So to those out there who have wronged you or who have taken advantage of you or have borrowed from you and not given return, what is to be is going to be. So I ask that my words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart is acceptable in the sight of the Most High, because it may not be acceptable to folks out there, because who feels it knows it. And people are enablers. They enable bad behavior in folks. They don't correct them. They don't stand up and tell them they're wrong. They enable their bad behavior. And I've seen this a lot. Enabling people's bad behaviors and choices. Are you an enabler? I don't know. You got to find out. Are you standing up for truth? What are you standing up for? So let's look at the verse of the day, the word of the day, and the psalm of the day. So we did all three, and we ended pretty early today, 40 minutes. So thank you everyone for joining. I am on my way to teach classes. I'm walking to the university. Yes, I am. And, fire eye. That's how I speak, excuse me. Fire eye. Because fire is cleansing. Fire is going to burn all the inequities out. So fire is what I use. I even named my daughter Fire because of Moses and the burning bush. So thank you for joining this psalm. And as we end, I always end with Steel Pulse, chant a psalm a day. That's how I end. So thank you for joining. Have a wonderful, blessed day, everybody. Saradokna, thank you for joining. Have a blessed day, everyone. And remember, be brave. That's the word of the day, brave.